What was your life like growing up, your childhood, high school, and college?
I really did. I had a great childhood. My life was fantastic growing up. Both parents in the home most of my life. I guess once I got in high school, my parents separated, and my dad had another family, and we're really close as well. We don't call each other stepsisters or anything like that. We're just family. So, you know, nothing bad, in the beginning. Sometimes people go through things which leads them into troubles down the road. I didn't have any of that. I had a really great life. I graduated high school, went to college, Northern University, um, and everything was fine. I pledged. I had a good time. In high school, I did meet my husband that I ended up marrying, but dated him all throughout the years. Like I said, everything was good. No problems, no troubles, no worries, no reason.
Was there a certain time of your life you started using alcohol or drugs?
Well, that was when I was in college. That I did 2.5 years. So at that half mark of my second year, I started experimenting with cocaine. And my husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, but he worked at this time. And I started drinking and doing more cocaine.
Okay. And was there an influence in your life during this time that introduced you to alcohol or drugs?
I would just say the party life in school. I had never really been away from home like that. So once I got away, it was like, and I just let that overtake me and not sticking to the core values that I was raised with.
And you stopped using in 1987. So what influenced you to stop?
Well, like I said, I had come home, gotten engaged to my high school sweetheart, and we got pregnant. And that made me dig back into who I was as a person, the values that I was raised with. Church, which was really big in our house. Sunday mornings we going to church. I don't care what you did last night, but and it made me think. I can't do this to a child. I want to get back to who I was as a person, to be a good mother, a good parent. And so that's what made me stop, and I never looked back.
What happened around 2016 or influenced you to start using again?
Well, both my husband and my father had cancer. My husband had bone cancer. My father had his lungs were, but they were both extremely ill. But this was around the end of it. My dad passed. No, my husband passed. My dad passed first, and 15 days later, my husband passed. And it was, I thought my husband would get better. I knew my dad was sick, but, he kind of, made us believe that it really wasn't as bad as it was. Um, but with my husband, it seemed like he would always kind of bounce back. So it really threw me for a loop. It was like um, knocking the wind out of your sail. And that sent me into a spiraling depression. I mean, like I had never known before, but I didn't know that. I just thought I was sad. I didn't know how deep it had gone.
You initially received a federal charge. How did you see your life's direction? And before you start, I think that, so you received that federal charge. Was it around a little after?
Right, let me tell you how that happened. So now, 30 plus years, no drug use, no alcohol, no nothing. When my dad died, I used to call this person a friend of mine. Um, I was telling her how, I felt and how bad it was for me and da 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 da. And I wasn't sleeping good and stuff like that. And she, she's the one that introduced me to heroin. And You know, she said, you know, you can snort a little bit, you will sleep, it'll make you sleep, you know, da 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 da. You won't be as depressed. I mean, we were good friends. We talked about everything. I mean, everything. And I had no idea that was something that she was involved with, but she introduced me to it. And that was really, that was a turning point for me. But when is a drug that it gets into your body, into your system, and if you don't have it, you hurt in your bones and your joints. You're sick to the stomach. You can't hold your bowels. It's so addicting that you can't live without it.
So it in a lot of ways it started taking control of your
Oh
life.
my God, did it ever? And what I would do, how I got in this trouble, is I would buy enough so that I would have enough, and then if any of my friends, you know, the people in this community were out, they would get it from me, and it would help me to support my habit, which was really a bad thing. But this particular day, I go to this place, and I think went to this place, and when I left, I got pulled over, and that's where it started.
That's where it started. So that addiction and it taking over your life, and it obviously led to the federal charges. So
And
at that time when that federal charge came down, talk to about where you saw your life's
oh my
direction going.
gosh, I thought, is this my life? Is this me? Is this really happening? Because here I am. I mean, I've had some of the best jobs in the world. You know, I thought, this doesn't happen to people like me. You know, well educated, come from a good
Sure.
background. How did I get here? And a federal charge? I was devastated, and I could not see my way out of it at that time because I was so addicted.
Right. And so after that, federal charge, you were released out on pretrial supervision. Tell us about the drug problems so at that point and the treatment services that you were provided during the pretrial supervision.
Now, I'm going to say this, and to the world, they should know that if you guys have a wonderful program, because I was sick, I was lost, I was disheveled. But when I got here, now let me say this, the first officer I had, I won't mention his name, we were like oil and water, and I was still addicted. Now, what I did was I went home to Chicago and I put myself in a rehab program before I got into pretrial. Because I mean, you're sick, and so I kind of got off of the heroin, but I was snorting cocaine to kind of, so I was still addicted. So I was flunking drug tests here, left and right, and they were like, "Okay, Miss Crenshaw, you're gonna go to jail. We're trying to keep you on the street and get yourself together before, And I was like, yeah. But me and this first probation officer, like I said, he was very stern, but he was trying to help me. But at the time, I couldn't see it. And oh boy, we fought, and he put me in jail. And when I went to jail, I thought, oh my God, here I am. Never in a million years at 50 plus could I see myself in a jail cell. And there were women all over the place, and they were talking and just the thought of being there, I thought it was something, eye-opening experience. And once I got there, I had a chance to think about what this officer was trying to do for me, and he warned me over and over and over again. And I thought, am I going to let this take over my life where I can't be in control of what's happening? I'm not turning away from this. I'm continuing. Is this where I want to be? Do I want to be in prison? And I, had a long talk with God. I cried in there, and when my system, I guess I had so much of the stuff in my system, when I finally was able to pass the test, they said, I'm going to let you out. You're going to have to get some help. And they tried to be like a Betty Ford clinic kind of thing. And but they were saying, no, you're going to go to, I can't remember the place, but they told me, this girl that was there, she said the best place, because, you know, I had been praying in there and I was trying to get people to pray with me. And she said, you would be good at Better Community Development. It's faith-based, and I think it will be a good place for you. He paid for it for me. And I was able to get into that program, and there my life changed.
Okay, so that, and you kind of touched on some of these, a couple of other questions. Asking about the past. Did the past addiction leave you feeling shameful and guilty? And I think you touched on that.
Now, not okay. So, you know, I had to face my family. That was devastating because to my son, I've been his shero all of his life. You know, he just, you know, looked up to me, and for him to have to look at me in that light, to uncover all this darkness, it was difficult to, you know, now my father's dead, and I have to, you know, share this with my mother, my brothers, my sisters. You know, it was tough because they never could see this for me, never thought it would happen to me, but yet there I was, and it broke me.
Mm-hmm. Would that be? Is that what you would consider kind of your rock bottom there? And
Absolutely. And in that rock bottom, I got the new officer, this next guy that I had. I really wish I could mention his name, but I got him, and he was it was like a ray of light. It was like God sent him to let me know, hey, fool, you know, listen, wake up, everything will be okay. And he guided me through what my first officer was trying to guide me through. But it was just clear, it was clarity, and it was in a softer tone. The first officer, you know, we were kind of like, rah, rah, rah. This officer was like, you know this, you know, he just had a softer side. And I think that through this program, I had options that worked well for me, that saved my life.
So talk about, so the plan, it says, what plan did you and your officer develop to overcome those things? So just talk about the plan that you and this officer then kind of worked on, of where you were, what you were trying to do.
And he would tell me things like, first, he said, listen, Ms. Crenshaw, I know you have a good heart. You come in here, you talk about some of these things, and I can see that it's got you unraveled. Take time, you know, within yourself. You talk about this, you know, relationship with God and da-da-da-da. He said, spend that time if that's what you need. I can't speak on, you know, spiritual things or anything like that, but for you, it seems like that's what's going to help you. Dive into that. Take heed to what we're trying to tell you. Look at where you are, and you're the one that say all the time, I shouldn't be here. Why am I here? You know, he said, but, you know, you do realize who got you here. And he made me really face me. Even when I faced my family, I didn't face me, you know, because I used to think, well, why did they pull me over, you know? But it was my fault. All of that, I brought that on myself. I knew that I was a stronger person than that, but it wasn't until, you know, talking with the new officer that I stopped and I, you know, got back to this relationship that I have with God. And God pulled me out of this muck and mire, set me on a solid foundation, you know, and, you know, helped me on my way. And my new officer, he was there to help, you know, push me and encourage me. And, you know, he would be so proud of things that I would accomplish or things that I would do. They would have conventions and programs for us to go to do different things. Then people started asking me to come and talk to their girls at their facility and go to this conference and go here and go there. And, you know, the program here allowed me that opportunity. And it just kept putting air back in my life and giving me, you know, what I had been missing. And then leaning heavily on the Lord and knowing that I could call my officer and let him know what I was feeling. And he was always there for me, you know. I might not call him after hours or at home, but during the I would call him and he would say, I don't care, call me. You know, I might not answer right away, but I'm gonna get back. And he really did. But he held my feet to the fire also. And once he could see that I was heading there, he knew.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great story, and we're glad to hear that. And that's awesome. How long have you been sober now?
Oh gosh, I guess I've been in this program not quite 3 years yet, but like I said, I went a little bit before that because I think going through this process, it was like a year and a half before all of that. So it's almost been about 4 years.
And what positive influences have helped you in your sobriety, and tell us about your accomplishments?
My positive influences, my last officer, you know, the officer that I talked about, and my relationship with God. I always knew him. I always loved him. I always, you know, thought that a lot of the things I accomplished on my own. I really didn't. God made a way for me, you know, and just knowing that now, like people say, well, do you ever think about drugs? I really don't, because I asked God to remove that taste from my mind, body, and soul, and he really did. Everybody does things differently, so what I experienced may not work for someone else. Some people in the program that, you know, I am like managing and now, they went through the big book, and the big book, the big book didn't work for me. God worked for me. So everybody has different things, but let me say this before I talk about these accomplishments. That's what worked for me. Whatever works for a person, that's what they should continue to strive to get better with. And like I said, me leaning and depending on the Lord helped me. Now, I used to think, oh, I'm this superwoman. I got this great job. I did this. God opens those doors for me now, and I know that. So, you know, I still feel like, I kicked that door down, and I'm running over here. You know, now it's 5 years of sobriety. Now it's this, now it's that. I still know who I lean and depend on. But I have had some great things to happen. At Hoover, the place where I went for treatment or better community development, you know, once I got from the inpatient side, I moved over to the outpatient side. And there, you know, I had my own room, but there were a lot of days I cried in there and I prayed out to the Lord for things that I wanted, how I wanted to be. And, you know, it wasn't about, you know, corporate world anymore and money and having things. It was more about a good life, a good soul, a good spirit, and to give back to people that are hurting the way I was, not knowing that there is help out there, you know. And this, like I said, this program that I went through with the Federal Bureau, it truly saved my life. And so it made me want to do great things. I wanted to say, they're going to look at me and say, hey, she did right. But it was through the guidance of the program that I was able to do those things. And every time I accomplished something new, I thought, they're going to like this. And even before that, I have to throw this in there. When I used to pass those drug tests, I would come in like, da, 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 you know, because I thought, hey, but it was because of this program that I was able to want to get off the drugs, to truly, truly commit myself to it. You know, like I said, being there with Hoover, we have a church, Teresa Hoover United Methodist Church, and there I'm on the board there, finance chair, with the entire recovery center. I'm on the board there. and I have been for 2 years now. And I still live on campus on the women's side and the outpatient side. I'm a residential manager. So the girls that come over on my side, I get to help them so that they don't, because once you get to the outpatient side, you have a little more freedom. You have your own room. The girls have to share a bathroom, but they can drive their cars and do other things. And I just keep them encouraged. And because, all that was given to me through both programs, I want to give it back and help people to see that no matter who you are, what you come from, it could be you. And I'm here to be that sounding board like the people here were for me.
Yeah, that's great. And there's no doubt that you being in the position that you're in right now over at Hoover is not by coincidence. And I'm sure you're a huge influence for the ladies coming through there, and your smiling face every day is probably an influence for them as well, a positive influence. So what advice would you give to others, just looking at, where you've come from, where you are now? What advice do you give to others who may be struggling?
Well, for me, trust God for my deep, well, not for me. Whatever it is that they are using to stay sober, stop stealing, stop, whatever the vice is that they have, find a higher power. Trust this program, because it's not to help them, it's to help us. People like me that have gotten into a place where they never thought they'd be. And I would say trust the process, trust the program, because it truly does work. It really does.